November 2020 has most definitely gotten a whole lot more interesting with the announcement by Ubisoft that Assassin's Creed Valhalla is launching November 17th, just 2 days before Cyberpunk 2077 is set to launch. Two massive AAA RPGs releasing just 2 days apart is not something you really ever see, which is why, as I said on Twitter days ago, I do wonder if one of these games will eventually move ahead or back a week to create some breathing room. Either way, Projekt Red's marketing campaign for Cyberpunk 2077 is in full effect underway, and what I mean by that is we've had an unloading on new information and images in the last couple weeks coming from various game outlets. Still right now, the next big announcement we're awaiting is the date for the second episode of the Night City Wire event series. Right now all we know is that the next episode should be coming in the next few weeks, maybe early August, and it'll provide us with yet another look at the huge role-playing experience coming this holiday season. As mentioned in my recent Cyberpunk 2077 news video, we know based on the game's official website that there will be 3 episodes in total of Night City Wire, and while the first episode offered a deep dive into the braindance gameplay feature, I'm very curious to see what the next 2 episodes will cover. My personal guess is a cyberspace deep dive next. Anyway, today we just have so much to break down, which includes the latest Cyberpunk 2077 news, new gameplay images, our first look at Militech soldiers, new interviews, new gameplay details, an in-depth look at open world events, the entire map of Night City, and much more. But as usual, before we dive into all of that, if you do go on to enjoy this content and want to show your support for videos like this, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing for more, and turning notifications on so you do not miss out on any new content. Also, if you want to further support this content, check out my Patreon, and make sure to get geared up for this upcoming game by getting the new Dark Future or We Have a City to Burn t-shirt designs. If you're interested in getting these cyberpunk themed tees, there will be a link in the description below as well. Nonetheless, fun times are indeed ahead, and CD Projekt Red has been providing us with a lot of new details on Cyberpunk 2077 as of late. Interestingly, one of the biggest previews of the game is actually yet to arrive, but it's coming very soon. And what I mean by that is the World of Cyberpunk 2077 book, set to launch in just about a week or a number of days. The World book will discuss everything Cyberpunk, giving readers a better understanding of the history and the lore of this franchise, while also offering an in-depth look on various aspects of the game that is coming this November, like the different types of weapons, gangs, corporations, districts, cyberware, and vehicles that we will encounter. From what I gather, this book will feature no spoilers, as it is more of an overview written by the in-universe Night City Inquirer, which will explain what Night City is like in 2077 and more importantly, what's going on before we step foot into this experience. Now, in recent days, a few games media or outlets have actually given some exclusive previews of this world book. IGN and IO9 had their own previews which featured some exclusive images of pages from the book, which don't offer much that we haven't seen or heard before, as most of the images are just like index pages, but we do see the history of vehicles and a page written about the famous and most brilliant but paranoid netrunner Raish Bartmos. Fortunately though, some of the websites that are actually selling the book have exclusive images as well, in which we can see that many of the pages include advertisements that we'll see in our travels through Night City, some being very adult like Teaser, which appears to be ladies cyberwear that certainly would give a big shock to whoever sees them. In a Korean version of the book, we do see the various gun manufacturers, which include Arasaka and Militech. There's also another look at the Quadra Turbo R, which has been the vehicle most prominent in marketing thus far, and at the top right corner we see a detailed account of the gang The Mox, which got a big spotlight in the recent gameplay previews that came after the first episode of Night City Wire. In the next page we have another advertisement for Pacifica in the lower left hand corner, which highlights how it was supposed to be this amazing tourist location or attraction, although that was the original vision for Pacifica before those plans were abandoned and Pacifica became a crime-driven war zone. On the other side of this image we also get a really good look at the world map of Night City, but we'll touch more on that subject later. In the next image we have a look at a Voodoo Boys gang member at the top and a detailed account of the Valentinos gang below that. While we can't make out what it says, we do again get a look at the fashion attributed to these gang members. Next, this time to German retailer Ebenwald, they offered a quick video zooming in and out of a few pages in which it's quite clear that these retailers are restricted to the same pages, but on the webpage for this world book where you can purchase it, it, we do get finally our first detailed look at the Aldecados, the other nomad gang which we haven't seen or heard much about up until now. Again, we see how these gang members look like, and I was able to translate some of the details about the gang, like the fact that they have about 400 to 500 gang members in the region of Night City out of the tens of thousands which are located throughout North and South California, Oregon, Arizona, and Nevada. One of the gang's well-known members is someone named Saul Dakota Smith, and their camp locations are on the outskirts of Night City, of course, between Highway 101 and the ruins of Rocky Ridge. The gang also has notable cyberware which includes a reflex booster and heavily modified cars and motorcycles, so sharing some similarities with the opposing nomad gang in the Badlands, the Race, which are said to be more aggressive and hostile towards our protagonist V. Now, other than that, some other small things that I thought I'd point out from this Ebenwald preview of this world book: we have another look at a Voodoo Boys gang member looking very intimidating, we have an advertisement for real water, and then we have some different types of vehicles that we'll see in Night City, including some sort of futuristic pickup truck, and then we have some of the different manufacturers' vehicles, which includes Thornton, Archer, Mizutani, Villafort, Chevron, Quadra, Mahir Motors, and a few others. Finally, moving along, in recent weeks, CD Projekt Red has been having some players experience a few hours of Cyberpunk 2077 in Poland, and CD Projekt Red uploaded an unlisted video highlighting this event, in which we get a brief look at some off-screen gameplay. Thanks to Reddit user Checking Is My Priority, they put the gameplay clips together, and what we see are mostly details we've heard from the gameplay previews journalists got to play. Slowing it down, I was able to notice a brief moment of gunplay and the appearance of Dum Dum, a Maelstrom gang member, but these clips primarily come from Lizzie's bar, in which we meet Evelyn Parker for the first time. And we see some scenes from within a braindance of her sleeping with Yorinobu Arasaka. Players are able to freely roam this scene to find clues about a secret implant chip. This takes place in the beginning of the game. Speaking of Yorinobu Arasaka, CD Projekt Red recently gave some background on his character, revealing that he is the heir to the Arasaka Empire, Saburo Arasaka's youngest and only surviving son. Yorinobu cut ties with his father after a heated argument. He sought destruction, but soon realized that the corporate giant's power was impossible to defeat, at least from the outside. Which this information is pretty huge, because it kind of confirms that there may be a power struggle going on inside of Arasaka. I found it strange Yorinobu had joined Arasaka from the get-go, considering his past history in the tabletop RPG in which he fought Arasaka, forming the Steel Dragons gang, but now it makes much more sense. Because this is a role-playing game, it will be interesting to see if our life paths will allow us to maybe understand him better. Like, I would assume Corpo V may have more trust with him than a street kid or Nomad V, which may just see him as yet another corporate executive that will do anything to retain power and authority in Night City. Anyway, will be really cool to see how that dynamic plays out. In other news, Game Informer unveiled their latest magazine cover, and it was of course on Cyberpunk 2077. What was pretty interesting about this specific magazine cover was actually what was hidden, and that was the augmented reality feature, which allows readers to scan the cover and see some details about a character like V, or the girl sitting next to him as he works on his cyberware. The girl appears to be a member of the 6th Street gang, and this interface is one that we'll see throughout our time in Night City, being able to scan enemies, finding weaknesses, strengths, and acquiring information on their background like their name, level, and whether or not they have a bounty on their head. In addition to this cover, Game Informer did have a couple of key interview topics with a CD Projekt Red developer. The first one discusses storytelling, and more specifically how the developer is trying to make it that conversations aren't always straightforward, and how certain characters may not be telling the whole truth when they reveal something to you. So think LA Noire, but hopefully a bit better than that. CDPR's lead quest designer Pavel Sasko mentioned first his work on The Witcher 3's Bloody Baron questline, saying, "One of our objectives was to find a parallel between Geralt as a father and the Baron as a father, but also throw enough bad things in there so the player will like him and dislike him at the same time. This is what we are almost constantly playing with in Cyberpunk 2077, having it be like in real life when people say one thing and then do another." Sasko would continue next explaining their aim for some complex conversations in Cyberpunk 2077, which sometimes body language and words may not match up. It might be that a character is speaking in a very convincing manner, but through the animations, through their poses, and through the setup of the scene, we're showing that the character is not like that. He would further give an example of this with Evelyn Parker, a mysterious woman who gives us key information, but also at one point offers to cut Dexter Deshawn out of the deal so only you two split the riches. This is one of the many choices we have in Night City, but Sasuke would explain, when you're meeting Evelyn in Lizzie's bar, she's doing very specific things in the specific moments, and there are things she is not certain about that she's discussing. The way she's moving in that scene, that's specifically designed to present the character in the best possible way and to give the player lots of different interpretations and hypotheses. Furthermore, he would next add that when you talk to the characters and ask more questions, they can actually throw things in that are contradictory or will give you some more clues to what they really think to make you question things. It's just really fun because that makes the player be conscious and look at the characters. Of course, we cannot be all over the place with that because if you go completely random, then it won't work. It has to be designed very specifically. Now to the next interview topic, this time Pavel Sasco discusses cyberspace, the mysterious feature that thus far CD Projekt Red has been mostly quiet about how it will work in the game, but Sasco does reveal that there are layers. The first layer is the layer that exists in the world in social life. You can see that people have the internet, they have phones, you can check into the computers and so on, but this is owned mostly by the military. Then you have the next level of netrunners, this specific type of cyberpunk that can go into the network, surf the network, and use it. And the last level is cyberspace, the moment the netrunner is actually inside it. Sasco would confirm last year's deep dive video in which a Voodoo Boys gang member throws ice on us, that's V entering cyberspace. Sasco would next tease that for us, cyberspace is a storytelling tool. As a player, you will be going into cyberspace multiple times throughout the storyline, and each time something very specific happens. So it's not that as a player you can freely explore cyberspace. This is more story focused. You're meeting specific beings and uncovering more mysteries regarding how it was made, how it came to be, and how it works. That's what I can say without just completely going into spoilers. Which, as we've seen in the past and as I've predicted, one of the big story moments within cyberspace that I think may happen is Alt Cunningham being freed and allowed into the net. Although again, this all depends on choice, and I'm sure Johnny Silverhand wants us to save his girlfriend and reconnect them, but even then, who knows what the encounter may or may not hold. Reunions are not always hugs and kisses and tears of happiness. Next though, we have two new in-game screenshots that were revealed coming from German gaming website GameStar. In the first image, we have a battle going down between Militech soldiers and what appears to be members of the Maelstrom gang. Although based on the fact that the Maelstrom gang are not engaging us, it looks like we may be assisting them with attacking this Militech warehouse. What you may not notice in this image is our first look at either flamethrowers in the game or fiery modifications that can be made to our weapons. Now to the second gameplay image, we have some sort of Arasaka facility that is closed off, although as noted by GameStar, what's impressive about this screenshot is the two ray tracing effects. The first is ray trace diffuse illumination, which can be seen with the Arasaka lettering, and the red hollow road closed sign, which bathe the surroundings in soft, diffuse light. The same applies to the rear and even the small front light on the vehicle. And second, we have ray trace reflections. Lettering and lighting are not only reflected in the pool, but also diffusely reflected by walls and asphalt. The reflections even seem to take the surface condition into account. Now, in our last video discussing Cyberpunk 2077, we went over some of the high-level perks in the game, and as has been revealed recently, there are over 240 perks in total to pick from and improve, but we have since gotten a few more stealth-oriented perks that will definitely be used in ninja builds or stealth builds. This comes from YouTuber Arex Gaming, who got to play a few hours of the game, and he revealed the following. First, we have, under the reflex stat and the blade skill, our first perk, which is Unfair Advantage. Deal 10% more damage to enemies with higher maximum health. The next perk is Ninja. Unlock the ability to deflect attacks like being able to block bullets and perform dash attacks. Now, moving to the cool stat and under the stealth skill is our first perk, Embrace the Shadows. 25% health regeneration when sneaking. Next we have his Crouching Tiger. Movement speed increased by 30% when sneaking. Then we have Dagger Dealer. Unlock the ability to use throwing knives. There's also Hidden Dragon, which allows players to unlock the ability to perform aerial takedowns. Next is Attraction and Repulsion, which allows you to push grabbed enemies away after grappling them. So imagine being on a rooftop and then sending an enemy to their death with this feature. But to the last few stealth perks detailed here, we have Ninjutsu. All sneak attacks with melee weapons will deal 100% more damage and guarantee a critical hit. Stunning Blow, fast melee attacks will stagger enemies, and lastly, Hasty Retreat. Gain 50% movement speed when spotted by enemies. We now move on to probably the main subject of the video, and that is the open world and map of Cyberpunk 2077. In recent days, we've gotten a better understanding from CD Projekt Red on what Night City will offer players this holiday season. Like, we have the various activities that we can take part in. Cyberpunk Reddit user Frost_Winter has composed a list of all the icons spotted by previewers on the game's map. This includes the following: Convoy, Fixer, which we get jobs from people like Dexter Deshawn, who is one of the best fixers in Night City. There's Client, Scanner Hustles, which are jobs or tasks that are sent out by the NCPD. There's Unauthorized Access, Smuggling Activity, Junk Shop, which where we can trade in some of our junk, Suspected Organized Crime, Traveling Dealer, V's Apartment. There's the main job, side job, Guns for Hire, Search and Recovery, Thievery, Agent Saboteur, SOS, Mercenary Needed, Special Delivery, Assault in Progress, Working Girls, Cyber Psycho Sighting, which that's been compared to mini boss battles, Clothing Stores, Ripper Docks, Techies, Weapons/gun shops, Trainers, Food/restaurants, Bars, and other side quests. Again, these are the markers and icons that have been spotted thus far. I say that because all the previews were from the early hours of the game, and one activity that was not mentioned, which is confirmed, is car races, and I imagine there will be a marker for that. Now, the actual world map of Cyberpunk 2077, CD Projekt Red has continued to tease at it. Earlier on in this video, we again saw quite a bit of it, but even on the game's official pre-order page, we get a look at the upper part of the Watson district. Anyway, the Cyberpunk 2077 community has been composing, based on everything shown and known thus far, a speculative map of Night City, which actually was complemented by the Cyberpunk creator himself, Mike Pondsmith. What we have here is the giant metropolis of Night City, which connects to a small island that is used to travel to space, and there's been some leaks and rumors that we may be going to space, more specifically to the moon. And then we of course have the outskirts of Night City, the Badlands. Based on the information we have at this moment, the Cyberpunk community have gone further, comparing the size of Night City to that of Grand Theft Auto V's Los Santos. And right now it's expected that Night City will be almost double the size of Los Santos, which this is important to note just because of all the criticism I've seen over the years on the size of Night City. Again, from what's been revealed up to now, it appears to be massive, and I should emphasize, this isn't even mentioning the verticality of the city, which is said to be a huge focus of exploration in Cyberpunk 2077. Digging a bit deeper, Reddit user Saval_Chow, who is responsible for this map, added markers for each district along with concept art for each district. What we have here is the 6 districts of Night City and the areas or regions within them, 16 in total. So starting from the top and working our way down, first we have is the Watson District, where much of the game's prologue takes place, composed of Arasaka Waterfront, the Northside Industrial District or the NID, Little China, and Kabuki. Next, to the eastern side of Night City, we have the Westbrook District, described as a mix of Las Vegas meets the Red Light District of Tokyo, which is composed of Japantown, North Oaks, and Charter Hill. On the opposite side, to the western side of Night City, we have City Center, the heart of the mega corporations made up of Downtown and Corpo Plaza. Below that is Haywood, largely made up of Latinos and composed of Wellsprings, the Glen, and Vista del Rey. Below that is Pacifica, the abandoned and crime-driven part of the city, made up of Westwind Estate, and one missing area from this graphic but confirmed to be a location based on information coming from the World Book, and that is Coast View. Lastly, under Haywood and Westbrook, east of Pacifica, is Santo Domingo, a massive industrial and poor district composed of Arroyo and Rancho Coronado. Now, in terms of gangs and where they reside on this map, thanks to Reddit user Java_the Hut, right now we know of the Maelstrom gang and the Mox being headquartered in Watson, along with the Tiger Claws being active in parts of the district. City Center, we as of this moment don't know of any gangs being located here or having any activity. Haywood is the home of the Valentinos gang, but the 6th Street also have a presence in Vista del Rey. The Animals and the Voodoo Boys make up Pacifica, the Tiger Claws are headquartered in Westbrook, and the 6th Street gang is in Santo Domingo. Again, should be emphasized, this is a work in progress as we still don't know all of the gangs in the game, like the Steel Dragons have been rumored for some time to be in the game and feuding with the Tiger Claws. Also, I mean, the Bozos have to show up, right? Anyway, we do have some more in-depth details that have been shared about some of the districts of Night City. This comes from CD Projekt Red's official forums. First, with Watson, a district that used to have it all. Nightclubs, skyscrapers, corporate offices, a top-end med center, even the biggest black market in Night City. Japanese corporations competing with Arasaka invested billions of euro dollars in this district, intending to make it self-sufficient and prosperous. Everything changed when Arasaka returned to the city after the Unification War. It bled other corporations dry and changed Watson forever. Without a stable financial sector, Watson's glory days ended. The Northside Industrial District, once a cutting-edge technology park, could no longer provide jobs, leaving people out on the street. This economic vacuum allowed Arasaka to take over and make Watson its own. In the end, Arasaka got what it wanted: port access and the waterfront. Today, Watson is a sad and desperate place. It's one of Night City's poorest districts, and it's a battleground between Maelstrom and Tiger Claws. The Maelstrom gang settled in the Northside Industrial District. It's filled with factories, most of them abandoned now, and working-class apartment blocks. You can also find the well-known Totentanz bar here. Tiger Claws operate from Little China and Kabuki. Little China used to be an extension of downtown. It's a high-density urban region with skyscrapers overpopulated with Asian immigrants during the late 2040s. You can find the old med center here. It used to be the best place in Night City to legally spend some money on your body, but now it's overrun by the Kabuki market. Kabuki is a maze of narrow alleyways located right next to Little China. At night, they turn into a bazaar for implants, organs, steroids, and much more. Legend is that you can find anything you're looking for in Kabuki's market. This makes Watson a prime target for scavs, a ruthless group of people who harvest people's organs and implants for resale on the black market. The rest of Watson is the Arasaka waterfront, an area off limits for employees. The next district that we have is Westbrook. Many consider it to be the best place to live and have fun in Night City. It's where the richest and most influential members of society reside. But it wasn't always like that. Back in 2023, after the nuclear attack on Arasaka, the part of Westbrook next to the city center sustained significant damage, turning skyscrapers into ghostly, crooked skeletons for the next 2 decades. The Great Restoration of Night City saw the ruins removed and replaced by Asian corporations. What was once one of the city's worst combat zones was revived into an exclusive, ultra-secure area. North Oak used to see crime rates that measured higher than any other district, but with the attentive help of mercenaries, order has been well and truly restored. Now North Oak is home to the Night City's untouchable elite, corporate regional directors, managers, bankers, and executives. No gangs are present here. Private security forces are the norm. Take a walk through its tree-lined streets, and at every step you're met with luxurious cars, private villas, and tennis courts. Today, this is the most beautiful neighborhood in Night City. Any aspiring and ambitious corpo that cannot afford to live in North Oak lives in Charter Hill. This part of the district is all about mass housing. The wealthy who live here need to have bodyguards and armored vehicles, as their lifestyle is constantly under attack. But that's the price you pay for even a taste of luxury. If you got the eddies, you come to Japantown to spend them. And if you don't, well, take out a loan and pretend you're on top of the world, even just for one glorious night. It's chock full of gaming parlors, street food stands, and capsule hotels. Additionally, just one really cool detail that I wanted to point out is that luxury casino concept art is actually a real place in North Oak that we will be able to visit. This was confirmed by CD Projekt Red's lead quest designer Pavel Sasko, who teased on Twitter that the casino is heavily guarded and we can't just walk in. Thus far, it's unclear what purpose this location may or may not serve, like if we can gamble or not. We just don't know at this point. Anyway, to the final district that we'll discuss today, we have is City Center, which is the showcase of Night City. It's hard to believe that a few decades ago it used to be a smoldering battlefield after the Fourth Corporate War and the nuclear attack on Arasaka's tower. Restoration of the district was a lengthy and costly process. It started in the 2030s and ended just recently when the Arasaka Tower was rebuilt in the 2070s. Now it is the most fortified and secure part of the city. Filled with modern cutting-edge architecture, City Center is where you can witness the unrivaled might of megacorps in all its arrogance. This is where the rich and overworked spend their lives building Night City's economic power. The Corporal Plaza is reaching for the sky with its brutalist corporate skyscrapers and blinding floodlights. This is the heart of the district and the address of the biggest corporations such as Arasaka, Militech, Biotechnica, Petrochem, Museum, and Kang Tao. Next to the corporate plaza is the downtown full of narrow alleys, nightclubs, celebrities, and corporate stiffs. Here you'll find an abundance of office buildings and eccentrically shaped architecture, as well as exclusive apartments, hotels, and restaurants. Its northern waterfront is a mecca for artists and snobs with galleries, concert halls, and ateliers around every corner. But despite all its elegance and power, downtown isn't always as secure as it seems. Turn down the wrong alley and you'll find yourself en route to sleazy love hotels, dive bars, and shadowy corners where drug deals and worse are a common occurrence. Now, finally to the last part of this video, some other small pieces of news. The next Cyberpunk 2077 reveal may actually be days away. Recently, Microsoft teased an Xbox Series X theme for Windows 10, and interestingly, the desktop had various folders which seemed to tease things that could be shown during their July 23rd Xbox Series X event, and one of them was 2077. Based on the 2077 icon, we can make out the Cyberpunk 2077 Xbox One X console, so it could be that we see another advertisement for that, or will we see some new gameplay or a new trailer, or who knows. But a reveal here shouldn't be too surprising considering that CD Projekt Red and Xbox have a partnership together for Cyberpunk 2077. It has been confirmed by CDPR that on PC, Cyberpunk 2077 will be a DirectX 12 only game, which does have some concern of potential issues come launch day. It was previously revealed that Nvidia and CD Projekt Red have a technical partnership for Cyberpunk 2077, which includes the game featuring 4 ray-traced effects, some that we talked about earlier, along with performance-enhancing Nvidia DLSS 2.0 tech. CD Projekt Red were recently asked if there will be a pitch slider option while customizing our characters, and they have confirmed that this is not something that will be included. Recently, there was some confusion surrounding an interview with a CD Projekt Red developer in which they stated players can go on GTA-like rampages. For some reason, some assumed this meant there was a separate GTA mode, but that is not the case. All it means is that you can kill NPCs and run through them like you would do in Grand Theft Auto or really any open world game featuring cars. I thought this was something that was self-explanatory, but I guess not. But before we go, I do want to mention there's still a lot more Cyberpunk 2077 news and information that I was not able to fit into this video without it being around or over an hour in length, so keep an eye out in the coming days for another lengthy video breaking it all down. Anyway, what do you make of everything that we discussed today? Which district in Night City do you expect to spend the most time exploring? Personally myself, I'm thinking maybe Haywood or even Westbrook. Definitely have to check out that casino. Let me know your thoughts on everything that we went over down the comment section below, but thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video or if you found any informative value, and make sure to follow my other social media accounts for updates on new videos. Links are always down the description below. I'm most active on Twitter giving opinions on news that I do not always get into video form, so do make sure to follow me over there. Also check out my Discord for all sorts of discussion on games, and again, thank you for joining. Consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.